This is Abaddon Recapped. Let's find out about the drama romance film called The Escort from 2015. Watch to the end. Natalie is an attractive girl who provides services by the hour. She is forced to provide services to men for money because she cannot find a normal job due to an unpleasant situation during her student years. Working independently and without intermediaries, she finds clients and fulfills their desires, no matter how strange and disgusting they may be. Natalie is ready to please everyone, even the worst person. All this partly gives her pleasure because she earns good money and can fully support herself. Mitch is a failed journalist who avoids serious relationships and is focused on having fun with the first girl he meets. His best friend decides to help him change the situation and invites Mitch on a blind date with a nice and well-mannered girl. However, showing no interest in her, Mitch hides in the restroom to watch a movie and entertain himself. He doesn't want to fall in love and prefers to meet girls through the app because they are unpretentious and always know what they want. Their meetings rarely last longer than 5 minutes, but for Mitch, it's enough to get at least a little pleasure. In the evening, fate brings Mitch and Natalie together at a restaurant near the bar. Out of habit, the girl offers her services for $3,000 a night, but Mitch is not used to paying for pleasure. Calling her affordable, he receives words of rudeness in response, because Natalie does not consider herself a representative of the oldest profession and calls it adult services. Before leaving, the girl admits that she graduated from a prestigious university. This shocks the journalist a bit. Mitch's familiar world comes crashing down when his boss decides to fire him. Downsizing is planned in the newsroom, and Mitch is the only one with whom the boss cannot establish a close relationship. Realizing that he will never be able to compete with his female colleagues, the journalist leaves the newspaper. He quickly falls into depression and loses faith in himself, continuing to find solace in casual liaisons with attractive girls. For several weeks, Mitch tries to find a new job, but all the editorial offices reject him or offer to work for free. An attempt to apply to a fashion magazine also fails, as Mitch is considered not a professional enough journalist who writes uninteresting and boring stories. Fascinated by the idea of working for a glossy magazine, Mitch promises to find an interesting topic for an article and mentions the smart and approachable Natalie. Financial problems also remind him of himself, as he has no money to pay the rent for his apartment. In the evening, he tries to find Natalie in a bar, but she is acting too suspiciously. The bartender wants to check if Mitch is a policeman, but the journalist is not ready to show his dignity to a stranger. Having met Natalie, Mitch asks her to help him and become a subject for an interesting article. However, Natalie categorically refuses, as she does not want her personal life and work to become public knowledge. That same evening, Natalie meets with a client who takes things too far. She is strongly opposed to kissing, and when the man tries to take her by force, she punches him in the groin. After talking to a friend, Natalie realizes that it would be good to find someone who could protect her. Not wanting to share her money with such a person, she calls Mitch back and agrees to become the protagonist of his story, provided that he stays close to her and changes his appearance, replacing his glasses and old-fashioned sweater with a jacket and gold chain. Being around Natalie all the time, Mitch is shocked to discover that in addition to providing certain services, she also works as a math tutor for struggling teenagers. Later on, Mitch meets Natalie's best friend and learns that it was she who introduced Natalie to the world of adult services. She liked the easy money for the work she enjoyed, so she continues to do it. At the same time, Natalie, like many others, promises to quit sooner or later, as soon as she has saved enough money to invest in her own business. In the evening, the couple goes to a bar where Mitch is supposed to keep an eye on Natalie while she meets other men. While Mitch is guarding the hotel room, he realizes that Natalie is faking her pleasure, but she needs to do so to get good tips. Over time, Mitch and Natalie begin to spend more and more time together and become friends who have a lot in common. One evening, Natalie is approached by inappropriate men, and Mitch has to defend her. Here, he uncovers Natalie's deception, who used him as a bodyguard and protector from problems with difficult clients. After that, Mitch gets a message and leaves. This seems suspicious to Natalie because she has seen that the guy often corresponds with someone, but she doesn't understand what he's hiding from her. Deciding to follow Mitch, Natalie finds out that he is in the toilet of a cheap cafe with the first girl he meets. She has to tell him about the speed dating app, and then they brag about their test results and frequent checkups in hospitals to make sure they don't have any unpleasant diseases. At the end of the meeting, Mitch not only tells Natalie that she is very beautiful, but also asks her to pretend to be his girlfriend to meet his father. Mitch is worried that everyone thinks he is a man who meets girls for one purpose only, so he wants to make it look like they are in a serious relationship. The next day, the couple goes to a country house, where it turns out that Mitch's father is a rich man in the past. Charles and Emily are delighted with Natalie, because they do not yet realize that she is not only a tutor, but also an adult service worker. After lunch, Mitch decides to talk to his father alone and asks to borrow money, but he is refused, not realizing that Natalie has overheard their conversation. A little later, the couple gives Emily a ride to a meeting with friends and decides to spend time together. During the conversation, Natalie admits that she had a great education and could have achieved something more, but she loved enjoying personal relationships with men too much. Shortly before her final exams, she made a list of all the guys she had dated and sent it to her friends. Jealous girls published this list, resulting in a scandal that was even broadcast on TV. As a result, Natalie's name became associated with a certain profession, and she was rejected at all interviews. Thinking that her reputation was completely ruined, she went into the field of adult services. In the evening, Natalie and Mitch take Emily home and see that she is in tears because her friends have offended her. Wanting to restore justice, Natalie goes to the house of Emily's friends and causes a scandal. But the fact is that she accidentally went to the wrong house and yelled not at Emily's friends, but at the schoolgirl. Finding herself in an awkward situation, she has to run away. Back home, Emily watches a movie and then goes to the bedroom. Mitch can't lie down next to Natalie, so he decides to unpack his sleeping bag. Natalie helps him, and at that moment a spark flashes between them. They kiss and can't help themselves, so they do something interesting. In the morning, Natalie gives the guy a ride home, and knowing his economic problems, she gives him some money. Meanwhile, she goes to the clinic to check her health. Mitch meets another beautiful woman, but realizes that he can no longer make love to just anyone. He has fallen in love with Natalie and wants to be with her, so he goes to the clinic to support the girl and spend time with her. After a while, Mitch quarrels with his friend because he doesn't support him in his passion for an easily accessible girl. Natalie continues with her work, but Mitch doesn't like it at all, as he becomes more and more jealous of the girl every day. Soon, his friend and family arrive to force Mitch to go to rehab with a psychologist and get rid of his addiction to random girls. Ignoring this opportunity, he meets Natalie again and follows her search for clients. Seeing that another rude man is behaving badly, Mitch attacks him and beats him severely. The girl is disappointed by his behavior, but attempts to understand the situation end in a scandal. The couple realizes that they are victims of psychological trauma. Natalie meets men for money because she is afraid of being rejected, and Mitch has fun with random girls, unable to find stability. Natalie continues to please married men and the elderly with her beauty for a few bills, while Mitch drinks and tries to write an article about the oldest profession. After spending a few weeks on this project, he returns to the fashion magazine's office to quit his job. The woman is shocked by this change because before, Mitch was eager to work for them, but now he is afraid to publish interesting material. Realizing that Natalie is important to him, Mitch finds her in the meeting room and kicks out another married client to talk to her alone. He confesses his love to her, but receives no response and decides to leave her forever. A few months later, Mitch publishes a great article about an adult services girl that captivates readers and becomes a bestseller in the world of glossy magazines. Meanwhile, Natalie finds a decent job where they value a person's education and abilities, not their past. Her boss's daughter has also been subjected to online abuse, so she has no intention of offending a girl who wants to realize herself. Mitch is undergoing rehabilitation to get rid of old psychological traumas. Soon, he comes to his father, realizing that he likes to smoke more than keep fit. After consulting with him, Mitch realizes that he needs to fight for his happiness. A few minutes later, he meets Natalie on his doorstep, who has read his article. The girl confesses her love to him, but without waiting for an answer, she decides to leave. Realizing that their feelings are mutual, Mitch asks her to stop and passionately kisses the beauty with whom he is ready to spend the rest of his life.